This is the 2025 Forbes list of the most important women in sports, and Angel Reese has no idea what's going on. Why? Team owners and officials tied for fourth place with Caitlin Clark, making her the most powerful athlete on the list. Reese, on the other hand, did not make the cut. It was an $8.1 million season that pretty much changed everything. But this is what's really weird. This is not the first time Reese has said he is envious of Clark's success. From college to the workplace, there has been a clear trend of hostility. Let me tell you exactly what took place. First, please leave a comment below with the words "baby goat" over "baby giraffe" if you like Caitlin more. This Forbes list is different from all the other sports awards you've seen. Forbes did not rank Clark based on how many jump shots she made or how many assists she had per game. They judged her against wealthy team owners and Fortune 500 executives based only on how smart she was with money. Rich women and owners of whole sports clubs were the only women who scored higher than Clark. At the age of 23, she is still running that business. Clark didn't just make a list of players. People ranked her as the fourth most important woman in sports, putting her in the company of big business leaders. Clark made $8.1 million in her first season. While most newbies to the WNBA have a hard time making six figures over the course of their careers, it made her about $70,000 a year in the WNBA. From contracts and business deals, she made 115 times what she really made as a basketball player. Let's talk about where the cash came from. Nike took a big risk by giving Clark a signature shoe deal that isn't like any other WNBA contract. She has a smart deal with Gatorade that treats her like an NBA star. Wilson gave her a deal for sports gear, which shows that she is the face of women's basketball. These aren't small donations. These are the kinds of projects that LeBron James and Steph Curry usually work on together. This is where things get really crazy. There are WNBA players who have been in the league for decades, who make a lot less money than Clark. The average WNBA wage is about people who have been in this league for 10 or 15 years make less in endorsements over the course of their lives than Clark did in her first season. Bird played in the WNBA for 21 years. Diana Taurasi has been in charge for over 20 years. Clark made more money in 1 year than most of these stars make in several seasons put together. Forbes used certain factors to put Clark ahead of sports executives and team owners with more experience. They looked at how much money she could make, how much power she had over media deals, how much she affected attendance, and how easily she could switch markets. The magazine said that Clark does run her own business company. There's more than one sport she plays. She runs big businesses that are based around women's sports. Clark's deal with Nike is very different from most WNBA endorsements. Most WNBA players get paid very little to play and maybe get some free stuff. Clark got a line of shoes with his name on them, big guaranteed payments, and deals to share in the profits. It's important for Nike that Clark can sell shoes like Jordan does. That is a level of trust in a woman basketball player that the company has never seen before. The most surprising thing, though, is that Clark's earnings were higher than some estimates of how much women's sports teams were worth. Clark's one-year pay is less than the value of some WNBA teams. She's no longer just a player. She has the same amount of money as people who run sports leagues and own clubs. Forbes said that Clark was really a business power that looked like a 23-year-old star. They knew that her influence went far beyond how good she was at hoops. Clark talks to her friends in ways that get new people interested in women's basketball. She gets people who don't usually watch sports to tune in. Little girls should beg their parents for basketball gear, she says. She makes WNBA games exciting to watch on TV. The award shows how dedicated and hardworking Clark is, as well as how great she is at creating new markets. When Clark plays, more people watch. Ticket prices go up when she goes to venues that compete with her. A lot of people interact with her posts on social media. Forbes regularly measures the kind of economic effects that Clark has. This huge advantage in money is one reason why some players may be scared of Clark's quick rise. In the world of basketball, they are competing for fame and respect. But Clark works in a very different business environment. When it comes to sponsors, she doesn't have to compete with other WNBA players. She competes for business power with CEOs of the Fortune 500 companies. That's a whole different game. And there are people who really don't like being left behind. We need to talk about the trend that started a long time before Forbes made its news. The way Angel Reese responded to Clark's Forbes award was not unusual. This is the most recent scene in a long story about jealousy. Despite what the market thinks, Reese has always seen herself as Clark's equal. From their feud in college to subtle digs at her on social media, everything you need to know is in the timeline. When they were college students, Reese made sure to be a part of any news stories about Clark's record-breaking efforts. As Clark set Iowa marks for points scored, Reese would post videos of her practicing or thoughts on her own game. Clark's three-point shooting got her national attention, and Reese started whining about not being recognized or paid attention to. The first clear sign of this trend was the WNBA draft. Indiana picked Clark as their first choice. There was a lot of attention in the media. Deals for endorsements started coming in pretty quickly. At the same time, Reese went to Chicago as the 7th overall pick, and Clark was the talk of the rookie class. That's when the low-level comments really got worse. Reese's tries to make her own unique moments often happened at the same time as Clark's biggest accomplishments. 2 days after Clark signed her huge Nike deal, Reese revealed that she would be working with Reebok. When Clark had a big game in the WNBA, Reese would plan interviews or posts for social media. The time wasn't a mistake. She was trying to use Clark's natural ability to get people's attention to her advantage. This is where the story really starts to come together. During the WNBA All-Star Weekend, Reese showed off her new Reebok shoe ad. On the same weekend that Clark couldn't play because he was hurt, ticket prices dropped by a huge amount. Clark's departure showed how strong of a pull she has, and Reese tried to take advantage of the chance. The real story, though, came out in the market reaction. Clark was already very famous, so her commercial push didn't have as much of an effect. Every transaction makes the difference between Clark's real brand partnerships and Reese's ad efforts clear. Clark's Nike original shoe line was made because fans wanted more of her clothes. Companies hired her because she really interested customers. It looks like Reese's recommendations are more fake. Companies sign her because they think she can capture some of Clark's magic. But she doesn't have the same amount of genuine fan connection. When Reese talks about recognition and respect in public, it often sounds like he is speaking against Clark's accomplishment. When Clark was praised for making women's basketball better, Reese would list all the other players who should get credit as well. When Clark won an award for working alone, Reese stressed what the team had done. In every way, she presented herself as a different story to Clark's. Clark's big deals and Reese's business news often happened at the same time. Clark signs with Gatorade, and Reese says he's working with a drink company. Clark is in many large advertising efforts. Then, Reese writes a post about the brands she works with. Since the beginning, she's been trying to catch up by making statements at the same time as Clark. The whole story is on social media. In her works, Reese often talks about being forgotten or undervalued, especially after Clark gets a lot of attention. It's always there in the background. When Clark breaks records for the most people at a game, Reese talks about how she has affected the game. When Clark is shown on national TV, Reese talks about how she has helped women's basketball grow. The trend is strengthened by social cues. The most recent case supports the trend. Forbes named Clark the most powerful female athlete, but Reese didn't celebrate or back her up. People thought that her actions and words were more of a response to Clark's success than an honest acknowledgement of her own achievements. The Forbes snub wasn't a mistake. The article confirmed what the market already knew: who really adds value to women's basketball. They looked at things like measurable effect, making money, and cultural influence. Clark was great at everything, but they didn't even know about Reese. The worth was clear. Every day, jealousy shows up in the form of money problems. More people watch Clark's games. Her item goes out quickly. Her rate of interaction on social media is higher. Firms spend more to work with her business. The market has made it clear who is the most valuable player in women's basketball, but some people just can't accept this. Do you want to know how strong Clark is? Check out what went on while she wasn't there. The WNBA learned a hard lesson about its business engine when Clark got hurt before All-Star Weekend. The league found out that their whole marketing plan was based on one player. Everything fell apart when she couldn't play. Overnight, ticket prices dropped 48%, which showed that Clark wasn't just another star. She was the whole point. The price of a ticket to All-Star Weekend in Indianapolis dropped from a high of $121 to a desperate $64. Fans who were ready to pay a lot of money to see Clark quickly lost interest when she got hurt. It was clear who people wanted to watch from the market. The number of watchers tells an even bigger story. Without Clark, only 2.19 million people watched the 2025 All-Star Game, down 36% from 3.44 million. More than a million people didn't listen because Clark wasn't present. The WNBA had never seen so many games lost because of one player's absence. During Clark's first 2 seasons, her games often went above the league average. In 2024, an average of 657,000 people watched each WNBA game. However, Clark's visits greatly skewed this number. There were a lot more watchers when Indiana played. The league was able to get 22 games shown on major networks like NBA TV, ESPN, ABC, and CBS, where more than 1 million people watched. Clark was in most of them. This is where the numbers get really weird. In just her first season, Clark was responsible for 26.5% of all the money made by the WNBA. More than a quarter of all the money the league made came from one person. Not only did she help the WNBA do well, but she did more. She was responsible for the league's business growth. More people came to Clark's away games when her team played in other places, showing that her popularity went beyond Indiana. From 2023 to 2024, ticket sales went up by 93%. StubHub data shows that the Fever brought the biggest crowds to visiting venues all season. Clark sold out venues all over the country just by showing up. Clark's appearance caused a big jump in merchandise sales and endorsement deals across the league. Because she brought attention to women's basketball, other teams started to do better. When companies joined the WNBA, they were putting more than just money on the league. They were betting that Clark could get people interested and involved. As her tide rose, it helped other boats in the group. Clark's effect on the game is different from that of other great players. The number of people watching Angel Reese's games did not rise as quickly. Not all players in the same class saw their attendance go up in the same way. Veterans with years of experience couldn't move prices as well as Clark could. The findings showed that Clark was very different from everyone else. The LPGA quickly took advantage of Clark's crossover draw, but at first the WNBA didn't want to use her star power. As soon as Clark showed interest, golf officials matched her with Nelly Korda for the Pelican Golf Club Pro-Am. To show off her skills, they set up golf clinics and publicity efforts. The LPGA changed its showtimes and made smart partnerships faster than the WNBA could figure out how to sell its own star player. People said that the WNBA's marketing failed to take advantage of Clark's star power during her rookie season. The LPGA showed how popular players can be supported by leagues outside of their main sport by welcoming Clark. But the WNBA didn't make the most of what they had. Clark was valuable to other groups before her own league did. Clark did more than just play basketball. She was the only one who was making more people interested in women's sports. The $8.1 million she made from Nike Wilson and Gatorade in her first season changed the way female athletes are treated. After Clark showed that there was an audience, companies started to see women's sports as good places to spend. This economic dominance changes the industry in ways that last for a long time and don't just affect one game or season. Clark changed the rules about how much money female sports can make and what they can do for business. The ranking by Forbes made it clear. Clark is no longer in a game with other people. She goes up against business moguls and team owners. She is 4th on the list of leaders who run billion-dollar businesses and own whole franchises. You can't play basketball there. That's real business power. Clark is building a sports empire that will last longer than any single season or career, while others focus on basketball battles. Long-term, her deals with Nike, Gatorade, and big companies make her rich. As of now, she is a fixed fixture in the sports world, and not just in women's basketball. The main question isn't whether Clark deserves this award or not. The real question is whether the other women's basketball players can reach the level she is setting. Please leave a comment below that says Baby Goat instead of Baby Giraffe if you agree with Caitlin. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on all alerts so you never miss anything. To see the next movie, click on the one that's there.